We're going to take a look at the first section of grammar in Lección 7, which is going to be reflexive verbs. A reflexive verb is going to be used to indicate that a subject, a person or a thing, does something to or for himself or herself. So in other words, it's taking the action that's in the sentence and then reflecting it back to the subject of the sentence. Reflexive verbs always use reflexive pronouns. So here's an example of the verb lavar, which is to wash. So if I had lavarse, that would be to wash oneself. So if I want the singular forms of this reflexive verb, it would be me lavo, te lavas, se lava, and se lava. Notice it's the same for the you formal as well as the he or the she form. If I was plural, it'd be nos lavamos, os lavéis, se lavan, se lavan. Again, notice that for the ustedes formal form, we do have the same reflexive pronoun and the same conjugation there as well. The pronoun se would be attached to the infinitive, which is what tells us that the verb is actually reflexive. So when we're looking at the infinitive form, I would tack the se on to the end. When the reflexive verb is then conjugated, the pronoun has to agree with the subject. So if I'm saying me afeito, that's being done reflected back onto me. So te importa si me maquilla primero, and then we have the answer given. And then we have the plural group here, where we have a las chicas les encanta maquillarse. Notice the se at the end because the se is the same for the plural. Durante horas y horas. So notice there, I have the reflexive infinitive because I have the verb encanta before. So I have a conjugated verb before, so I have to use the infinitive verb after, and the reflexive pronoun would go at the end. But in the first sentence, the te importa, I don't have an infinitive form there. The te is reflecting the verb importa back, and then we have me maquillo primero, which is a secondary reflexive that's happening there. So similar to object pronouns, reflexive pronouns generally appear before the conjugated verb except with the infinitive form. With infinitives and present participles, they can be placed before the conjugated verb or attached to it. In practice, the majority of the time that I've seen it being used in active Spanish speaker language, it is attached to the end of the infinitive, but it's not necessarily grammatically incorrect to go at the beginning of an infinitive form. When a reflexive pronoun is attached to a present participle, an accent mark is used to maintain the correct stress. So this helps us stress the proper thing, but we also take note the reflexive pronoun has been placed at the end, so that extra accent is a little bit of an indicator that I have a reflexive pronoun being utilized with the participle. Here's some common reflexive verbs. Not every verb fits a reflexive verb. So if you look at this list, these are common ones that you'll see in your activities within Portales this week. Another look at this is comparing and contrasting. In English, comparing Spanish to English, there are a number of verbs in Spanish that could be considered reflexive or non-reflexive. If the verb acts on the subject, we would use the reflexive form. If it acts upon anything else, the non-reflexive form is used. So if I look at these two sentences, Lola lava los platos. I'm not using lavarse. So in this case, because the plates are being washed and the plate is not the subject, I don't have a reflexive verb. But when I say Lola se lava la cara, she's washing Lola's face. So it's being done to the subject, which requires the reflexive verb. As the preceding sentences show, so as those two sentences show, reflexive verbs can sometimes have different meanings than their non-reflexive counterparts. And I don't mean completely different meanings, but for example, lavar means to wash. So it should make sense that lavarse, with that reflexive verb, is to wash yourself or oneself, and to wash up, because it's indicating that the verb is being done to the subject or the person when I look at it in that form. So it's a tiny tweak to our understanding of the verb once we look at it in the reflexive format. Parts of body or clothing are not referred to with possessives, but with articles. So if I say la niña se quitó un zapato, I'm referring to the shoe, which is a part of clothing or body, and so it's not going to be referred to with the possessive form, but with an article.